Okay. Right. Okay. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about programs within the School of Education. My name is Alyssa Yesko. I am the director of the Pathways into Education Center, the PI Center. Some of you may have reached out to us at some point during your interest in one of our programs. Our office sort of advises all prospective students on which program would be the best fit for them. We answer questions about our programs. We work with our current graduate students. We help with teacher certification. We work with our undergraduate population. So we're a really great resource for anything related to the School of Education. So just keep that in mind, and I'll have all of our contact information at the end of the session. So today we're going to talk about completing your application. This is for anyone, whether you've started an application, whether you are near submitting. We're going to talk about our programs. We're going to talk about the application process, and we're going to talk about non-degree study, which is a really awesome option for students who are in the application process for a number of different reasons. So we'll talk about all of that. So first, let's talk about our programs, right? We have a lot of programs in the School of Education. So what can you study? So we have programs that lead to certification or licensure in New York State as teachers, as school psychologists, as school leaders, so school building leaders, school district leaders, school district business leaders. And then we have a program that leads to programs that lead to licensure as a mental health counselor. Also programs that lead to licensure as a psychologist. I don't have that on here, but I wanted to mention that as well. We have programs in other areas of education outside of those licensure and certification areas. So in educational policy and leadership, higher education, educational psychology, curriculum and instruction, international education. So a really broad spectrum of programs. Then we also have certificate programs, which are lower in credit load. So usually somewhere from 12 to 15 credits. And those programs are in a specialized area. They're usually used, for professional development or to show that you have expertise in a certain area. So I'll talk about these. So when we're breaking it down, I mentioned we have a lot of programs. So I mentioned programs leading to teacher or leadership certificates or licensure. So we have programs for those who are not already certified teachers who are seeking initial teacher certification. Those are the Masters in Secondary Education and the Masters in Special Education and Literacy 2. We have lots of options for students who are already certified teachers who are seeking a master's degree for professional teacher certification. We have certification programs that lead to school building district or district business leadership programs for our already certified teachers. And we also have programs for in school psychology, which that does not require any prior certification. The program that leads to licensure in mental health counseling is our master's in mental health counseling. And then we have master's programs in a variety of different other areas. Our master's programs range and also many are offered online. So you can see anything highlighted in yellow is something that can be completed fully online. We have programs that are Certificate of Advanced Study. Those programs are, I like to describe them as a little bit longer than a master's and a little bit less than a doctorate. So we have those in curriculum and instruction and literacy. And then of course we have our doctoral programs, two of which can be completed fully online. I will mention that our PhD in counseling psychology does lead to licensure as a psychologist, and our PsyD in school psychology also leads to licensure as a psychologist in New York State. And then I mentioned those shorter graduate certificate programs in specialized areas. Those are our certificates of graduate study or CGS. And those are our shorter 12, 15 credit programs in specialized areas. So I mentioned that a lot of our programs are offered online. So many of our programs are offered either fully or partially online. Our website will always list which of the programs are offered online. And so you can always check out our program website and our listings there. And we always like to highlight that the School of Education is ranked number 4 in online programs in the country and number 1 in New York and New England. We've been doing online education for a really long time. And so I think we've done a great job of sort of mastering how to make that online instruction effective. And we have professors, instructors, faculty members who are really comfortable with that way of instructing and who have been doing this for a long time. So our online programs are excellent quality. So just so that you know, we offer within our online programs a couple of different ways to study online. So we have programs that are fully online. Those programs can only be completed online. We have a few of those. Then we have programs that are fully online option, meaning that the program can be completed fully online, but there are options for in-person courses. Then we have programs that are partially online, where some but not all of the program is completed online. So there will most definitely be an online component in that program. Regardless of the program, because we offer so many online courses, there is a high likelihood that you would have the opportunity to take at least some online courses, if that's something that you're interested in. And just so that you're aware, our online courses are not self-paced courses, but they're offered in multiple formats. We have synchronous online courses where you would meet, likely via Zoom, at a specified time each week. We have asynchronous courses where there are no meetings. And then we also have hybrid, where perhaps you'd meet synchronously 5 to 8 times a semester, and the remainder of the weeks would be asynchronous. Most of our synchronous courses and most of our in-person courses are offered at times that are typically convenient for those with a normal work schedule. So those times are usually offered in the evening hours. So when we're talking about part-time or full-time study, some of our programs do require full-time study, while others can be completed part-time. If you're interested in a particular program and you want to know if it can be completed part-time, you can always feel free to reach out to us. Keeping in mind that at the graduate level, 9 credits is considered full-time. You can explore a program's graduate bulletin for information on the requirements of that program, and then search the schedule of classes to gauge a typical schedule for your program. So when I say the graduate bulletin, I'm going to just show you guys what I mean. So each program has a graduate bulletin that outlines the different requirements necessary to complete that program. So here is our program page that lists all of our programs. So let's just pick a program. I'll pick the Master's in Mental Health Counseling. If you scroll on this program page, each program has one. You'll see a link that says, see the graduate bulletin for details. Once you're here, you can learn more about the program itself, and then you can see the program of study. This particular program lists the required courses. So these are some of the specialized and required courses, fieldwork courses, and then electives, which will differ for everyone. If you want to look into course descriptions for any of these courses, so these are ECPY courses. One of them is ECPY 521. You can click over here on School of Education. These are counseling psychology courses. If you want to read that course description, ECPY 521, Introduction to Mental Health Counseling, you can read a little bit about it. So this is a good way to get to know the program that you're interested in a little bit better. And I mentioned that you can check the schedule of classes to gauge a typical schedule, so you can see when these courses might be offered. Thinking about the Master's in Mental Health Counseling, many of those courses are ECPY courses. So let's just take a look. This would be a good way to take a look and see when courses are offered in the spring semester, if you're just interested in seeing what that looks like. So we'd be choosing spring, graduate only, and then the subject would be that ECPY for counseling psychology. And then you can click search and you can take a look and see when the different courses are offered. And you can do this for any subject area within the School of Education. And just see, you can see here, this one is offered on Wednesdays. This course is offered on Thursdays from 4:30 to 7:20. So this is just a good way to get an idea of what your schedule could look like. If you are completing a program part-time, there is a statute of limitations starting at the semester that you enroll in the program for how long you have to complete the program. So for master's and certificate programs, that is 6 years. And for doctoral programs, it's 8 years. For most of our programs that are open to part-time study, courses are offered in the evenings, as I mentioned, to accommodate typical work schedules. And that's the case for our synchronous and in-person courses. So now let's move on to talk a little bit about your application. So for all applications and great information about using our online application portal is available through the Graduate School. The Graduate School oversees our graduate admissions. So this is their website, the Graduate School's website. If you go over here and click on admissions and apply to a degree or certificate program, not only can you start your application, so this would be where you would find the online application portal, you can search your program's requirements, but you can also find really great tips for all of through the whole process of applying for a program. So how to apply, how to use the application portal, instructions for all of the application materials. So, oh my goodness, how do I submit my transcripts? There's great instructions on exactly how to do that. So you can visit there to start your application, and you can also find the application requirements on a program's main page. So most of our programs require transcripts. So if you've previously attended UAlbany, you don't need to request a transcript from the registrar's office. Those are automatically sent to graduate admissions. When applying to one of our programs, you can upload unofficial transcripts to your online application portal from other institutions, but just know that you will need an official transcript upon admission in order to enroll. As I mentioned, there's great instructions on how to submit your transcript on the Graduate School's website. Letters of recommendation are submitted directly through the online application portal. So in the online portal, you would enter contact information for each of your recommenders, and then that system sends them an email with a link and instructions of how they can submit a letter on your behalf. We highly recommend that letters of recommendation be specific to the program you're applying to whenever possible. So Joe is applying to the Master's in Secondary Education. I think this would be a great fit for him because so that someone can speak to your specific experiences and skills that would make you a good fit for that particular program, for that particular career area. And so many of our programs also ask for letters of recommendation from professors. This is to speak to your academic capabilities and potential to be successful at the graduate level. If you have been out of school for a prolonged period of time, professional references are acceptable for some programs. There are some programs that strictly want letters of recommendation from a faculty member who has taught you in a classroom. Off the top of my head, our PhD in Curriculum and Instruction is one of those programs. For programs that will accept a professional reference, can your recommender still speak to your experiences, your characteristics, or skills that would make you a successful graduate student, or things that could help them highlight your academic potential? Keep in mind, this option should not be utilized if you are a recent graduate. It could weaken your application because the admissions committee might be saying, okay, well, this person just graduated and they don't have a single faculty reference. Does that mean that they wouldn't be able to find someone who could write something to their benefit? We recommend that you give your recommenders plenty of notice, as well as a hard deadline ahead of the application due date or ahead of the date that you plan to submit your application. So let's say you have a goal to submit your application by December 15th. I always recommend that you ask your recommenders to have their letters in by, let's say, December 1st. You can complete all of your parts of the application and have that done, but it would be really awful if your application was hung up because you were waiting on letters of recommendation. So as someone who writes letters of recommendation, it is always really helpful to have a deadline. It's also helpful if students send me a little bit of information about themselves. So attach your resume. Once someone has agreed to write a letter for you, let them know why you're applying to this program. Maybe even send them a link to the program page so that they can, if they want to, they can look into the program a little bit further. Some of our programs do require teacher certification. In New York State, you first need initial certification, and then you also need professional certification. Professional certification involves a master's degree and 3 years of paid full-time teaching experience. So some of our programs are for students who are already initially certified, who are looking for the master's degree necessary for professional certification. So our master's in childhood, early childhood, literacy, and then any of our special education programs all require that you already hold a teacher certification, and in some of them in a specific area. If you have any questions about any of these programs and whether you hold the correct certification, we can certainly let you know. The programs at the bottom that are considered related masters, these are programs that you can enter if and can help you to earn professional certification. But you can also enter them without any prior teacher certifications. Just know that these programs don't lead to any certifications if you don't already hold one. So that's an important piece. Most of our programs also require a statement of goals or some type of written component. So for us, we use these written components to determine your fit for the program. We like to see what can you offer the program? What experiences have you had that relate to the program, if any? And also this is our chance to evaluate your writing skills. So we always recommend use spell check, maybe have somebody give it another look before you submit it. For you, this is your chance to tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background, your skills, what you hope to get out of the program. What are your research interests, your career goals? These statements should be purposeful and to the point. So most statement of goals are between 1 and 2 pages. Again, do your research on the program you're applying to so that you can speak to the specifics of that program that are a good fit for you. There's many helpful online resources that can help you write a strong statement of goals. Your previous institution's career center may also be a good resource, even if you're an alumni. Same goes for any program that requires a resume. Some of our programs require entrance exams, particularly the GRE, specifically the Master's in Mental Health Counseling, the PhD in Curriculum and Instruction, and the CAS in Curriculum and Instruction. It is an optional an optional part of the application for our PhD in counseling psychology and for our PhD in educational psychology. Just know that when it's an option, when it's optional, you would not ever be penalized for not submitting the GRE scores. So they're absolutely optional. For programs that require the GRE, there is no waiver for the GRE requirement. The only instance where the GRE is waived is for UAlbany students who are applying to the combined bachelor's master's program in mental health counseling. There is no minimum score for GRE for any of these programs. It is one piece of a holistic evaluation of an applicant. The GRE scores that you submit must be valid, so they have a 5-year expiration date. And you can visit the ETS website for more information on how to take the GRE. I believe that it is offered multiple times a week in many locations, and they also offer an at-home option that they started doing during COVID that, to the best of my knowledge, they are still offering. The GRE has been waived through fall 2024 for both the PhD in Educational Policy and Leadership and the PhD in Literacy. But just know that if there are ever any changes to the requirements for a program, for the application requirements, the best place to check would be the program page to check the admissions requirements and to see what the most up-to-date requirements are. When it comes to language proficiency exam requirements, you can reach out to the graduate school. Typically, if you come from an English-speaking country, a country that speaks primarily English, then you wouldn't need a language proficiency exam, but they can sort of let you know whether or not that would be needed based on your background. There is a $75 application fee for degree and certificate programs, which is paid through the online application portal. Paying should be your last step. You are unable to edit your application or upload new materials once you have paid. Application fee waivers are available for some students, but that is handled through the graduate school, which, like I said, they oversee our graduate admissions. So you can visit their website for some more information, or you can reach out to them. Application deadlines are listed on the program's main page. For programs with rolling application deadlines, you should still consider admission committee timelines. So we recommend that you allow at least a few, around 6 weeks before the beginning of the semester that you are applying for. That would be for master's and certificate programs. PhD applicants, we recommend a little bit more time. Just because they spend considerable time evaluating PhD applicants, so maybe 8 to 10 weeks. Some PhD programs have suggested submission dates, so always check the program page for that. We do get a lot of questions about acceptance rates, and those vary by program and by year. Let me see if there's anything I want to say about that. I think that's it. And then a great question that we get is, what if I've missed the application deadline? Or what if I know I won't be able to submit an application by the upcoming deadline? That's where non-degree study comes in. So what is non-degree study? Non-degree study allows you to complete up to 12 credits of coursework before beginning a degree granting program. Or even if you're not planning to ever go into a degree granting program, you can still do up to 12 credits. Students select from eligible courses offered within the School of Education. Why is it a good idea to pursue non-degree study? It's an excellent idea if you want to explore graduate school, so to sort of test the waters and verify your interest in a specific program. You can start making progress toward a degree program while working on an application. So let's say you have a program that only starts in the fall, but you're really eager to get started on some coursework. Maybe you take a non-degree course in the spring or the summer. It's an excellent opportunity to make connections with faculty from a given program. So I mentioned earlier that there are some programs that require letters of recommendation from a faculty member who has taught you. If you have been out of school for a long time and you take a course here at UAlbany as a non-degree student, you could ask that professor to serve as a reference for you while also taking a course that would count toward that degree if you are accepted in the future. It also allows you to provide evidence of academic success as you prepare to apply to a graduate program. So, the admissions committee might see, look, this person has taken courses in this area from our school and done really well. It also allows you to explore a personal or professional interest in a specific topic. Like I said, even if you don't ever plan to pursue a degree program, you're just interested in learning more. How do I apply as a non-degree student? You can apply as a non-degree student through the graduate school's website. So we were here a little bit earlier, and when we clicked on admissions before, we clicked on apply to a degree or certificate program, but you can also click apply to a non-degree program, and that's how you would start a non-degree application. You would submit the required application materials, which there are typically far fewer requirements for a non-degree application. I'm sorry, I meant to update this slide. Our spring courses begin on January 17th. So that's something to keep in mind. So what are my options for non-degree programs within the School of Education? So there are several areas of non-degree study. If you are not sure if you are applying to the right area based on your desired program or career interest, please reach out to the PIE Center because we can let you know. For many students, for example, if you're interested in a teacher preparation program, you might look directly at the curriculum or teacher education program, but some of our teacher preparation programs are housed in the school or housed in the special education division or the literacy department. So just to make sure that you're applying to the right place, you can always reach out to us to make sure that you're applying to the right non-degree program. Each program has its own application requirements. So we're back on that page from the graduate school, and you can look at the School of Education and at each of these areas to see what the application requirements are for non-degree study in that particular area. Can I take any course in the School of Education as a non-degree student? So although there are several courses available to non-degree students, there are some courses that require you to be enrolled in a degree program. And that's just a matter of space. So we have limited space in some of our courses, so we have to reserve those for the students in that program. Some courses will require instructor permission. And if you want the course that you're taking to count toward a degree program, let your non-degree advisor know. So when you're accepted as a non-degree student, you are provided with contact information for an advisor. You can let them know, hi, I'm hoping to apply to this particular graduate program. I want to be sure that any courses that I take as a non-degree student would count toward that program if I am accepted in the future. Something else that's important to highlight is that taking non-degree courses does not guarantee admission to the program when you do apply. So you're taking these courses, but you still have to apply and you still have to be accepted to your program. A lot of questions that we receive are on funding graduate studies. I can provide some information on that, but I am going to let you know the best places to reach out for that information would be our Office of Financial Aid or the graduate school. They are really the experts in funding, in tuition, in scholarships. So I can comment on a few things around that, but because I'm just School of Education specific, I leave that to the experts in those areas. So we have School of Education specific scholarships. I like to highlight these because we're fortunate enough to offer these, and it is a smaller pool of students that you're applying against versus, the entire university. The application cycle is it's the same every year. So applications will go out toward the end of the fall semester, usually in December, and they're usually due toward the beginning of the spring semester in February. So this was the cycle from last year. This is the scholarship list from last year. So you'll see that there are tons of scholarships. Some of them are designated to specific programs or career fields, but there are a lot of them offered. To apply for these scholarships, you would submit one singular application, and you would check off based on the description all of the scholarships that you believe that you are eligible for. Students are able to apply for these each and every single year that they are a student here. So we like to highlight that. There are also university-wide scholarships. Within our departments, there are assistantships offered within our doctoral programs, but there are also external assistantships offered outside of the School of Education. So I can answer any questions that you might have about that. But again, the best place to go for information is our Office of Financial Aid or the graduate school. For international students, if you have questions that are specific to funding graduate studies as an international student, we have an Office of International Student Scholar Services that may also be helpful. So again, if you have more questions, we are the PIE Center. That stands for Pathways into Education. We provide information on our programs. We hopefully can answer your questions or else find the person who can. We are located right in Catskill 101 on campus. We can schedule to meet with you via Zoom, but we also pride ourselves on being very fast in our responses to your emails. And then keep in mind that we also do hold program-specific information sessions throughout the year. So we had some submitted questions that I'll run through, and then I can open it up to any questions that you might have. And you can feel free to enter those in the chat. You can even enter them now so you don't forget them, and you can also feel free to shout them out. We had a couple of people ask about funding opportunities for international students. So again, I'm just going to refer to financial aid or our International Student Scholar Services Office just for that information. We had someone ask about pre-programs for international students or exchange scholarship programs. I think that would be a great question for our International Student Scholar Services. Someone asked, I have a master's in public administration. Can I get a certificate in education while going straight to a PhD in educational policy and leadership? So I think it depends. So if you're looking for a New York State Education Department teaching certification, that's not something that you would earn through the PhD in educational policy and leadership. That would be a completely separate program, but you could always complete a teacher preparation program and then go on to the PhD program. If the GRE is optional, would it be a benefit to take the GRE? Only if you feel that including your GRE scores would enhance your application. Otherwise, I think I mentioned before, you would not be penalized for not submitting GRE scores when they are optional. The difference between an assistantship and a fellowship, so through the School of Education, we only offer assistantships. There may be fellowships offered through the graduate school or perhaps through financial aid. Our assistantships require that our students work within the department, so either as a teaching assistant, a research assistant, or other administrative role for a certain number of hours a week in exchange for tuition assistance and a stipend. A fellowship, from my understanding, is there's a little bit more flexibility with how you can spend that money and how it's provided to you, but that would be a great question for financial aid. Is there a stipend for assistantships and fellowships? For the assistantships that we are able to offer to our doctoral students, there is typically a stipend. Available faculty members as advisors. So this is a great question, and especially for somebody who might be interested in doctoral study. So I highly recommend checking out faculty bios to learn a little bit more about our faculty. So this is if you go to the School of Education homepage, right? So that's albany.edu/education. And you scroll down to our different departments. We have 4 different departments. To learn more about the faculty from that department, you can click on the department name and then go to the department page. On that department page, it would list all of the programs offered through that department. But then if you scroll down, it would have all of the faculty in that department along with their bios. So you can click on their name to learn a little bit more about their research interests, their accomplishments, their career, and their background. So that would be a great place to learn a little bit more about our faculty. Oops. Sorry, guys. When is the next session starting? So I believe as a new student, I don't believe you can start in the winter session. You would be starting in the spring, and I think I mentioned courses start January 17th. Can credits from an undergrad or master's program be transferred over? Because we're speaking specifically about graduate programs, you cannot use undergraduate credits toward a graduate program, but you can use graduate courses from a master's program toward one of our other programs. So toward a PhD program or perhaps toward another master's program. I think all of the programs that we offer allow for transfer credit, so long as the credit is applicable to the degree. They might also look at the time since the course was taken and also your grade in that course. When applying, are there scholarships offered? I'm not sure if there are scholarships offered at the time of application, so that would be a really great question for financial aid. And is there an option for the PhD in educational policy and leadership to be done virtually? That program, while there are many courses offered online, the culminating 2 courses for the program, as far as I know, still have an in-person component. But I believe most of the other courses can be done fully online. So we've had students who have been a little bit further away, complete that program, and then just traveled for the required courses. So for example, the research sequence, when I took those courses in this program, we met maybe like 5 or 6 times in person during a given semester, and then some of the other work was done online. If you have more specific questions about that, I would be happy to answer them. But I do see some questions coming in on the chat, so I want to address those as well. If applying for fall of 2025 semester, is the deadline the same? I would keep an eye on the program page. I would say most of our deadlines stay the same from year to year, but it's a good idea to continue to check that in case anything changes. There have been times where, the admissions committee have found that a deadline that they had previously used isn't working well for them for whatever reason, or for the applicants, and so it may change. So I highly recommend that you keep an eye on the program page for the deadline. If I'm currently in a master's program for early childhood education with a dual certification in special ed, would some of my credits be able to transfer over to the PhD program of policy and leadership? So when it comes to determining transfer credit, that's something that's done once you've been accepted here. You can take a look at the programs page and the graduate bulletin to get a feel for the type of coursework that is required for that program. Like I mentioned, when departments are determining what credit can be used as transfer credit, they're going to take into consideration, is the coursework related to this program of study? Sometimes that might mean you provide a description of the course or a syllabus and justification as to why you think it's applicable. And also, the time since the course was taken. If it was taken 20 years ago, less likely to be considered, but not out of the question for some programs. And then your performance in the program. So I believe to accept transfer credits, students have to have a B or better in the course. I hope that answered the question. In the counseling psychology program, would it be beneficial to receive your licensure first as a mental health counselor prior to the start of the program? For the counseling psychology program, it is not required. It is certainly not required. We have students who apply straight from a bachelor's degree. We have students with master's degrees in other areas. It's not a requirement that you have completed a mental health counseling program. It certainly would show that you have an interest and a background in the field. And also completing a master's program might also open up doors for you to participate in some research experience, which is something that program highly values. It's a research-based program, scientist practitioner model. So they certainly value prior research experience and strong research skills. So sometimes students will choose to do a master's prior, but it is not required. Does the PhD in educational psychology allow you to pursue tenure in your future professional career as a professor? So the tenure, this PhD certainly allows you to move on to positions in academia, but tenure would be up to the institution where you work. And so wherever you have a job as a professor, they would determine the requirements for tenure, although we are an accredited and highly respected institution. So a PhD from our institution, if a PhD is required, would certainly, I'm sure it would suffice. Can initial certification in elementary ed be used for the master's in early childhood? Unfortunately not. That program requires either initial certification in early childhood or professional certification in another area. Now, I do want to let you know, if you do hold initial certification in childhood, grades 1 to 6 in New York State, and you pursue one of our other programs, I have helped students who are interested in adding on that early childhood certificate after completing one of our programs through New York State Education Department. So I've helped them through the process of applying to add that additional certification area, if that's helpful. We've had some really, really good questions. That's all that I'm seeing in the chat. Is there anyone else who had any additional questions that I haven't addressed yet?
I just wanted to know, hi.
Hi.
I'm an alumni from 2020.
We love when our alumni come back.
Yes, I miss you guys. I just wanted to know, where can we access, so I'm looking like at the website
Yeah.
and it says like the graduate programs, but I wanted to apply for one of the PhD programs,
Yep.
because I finished my master's this spring.
Awesome.
I just wanted to know, is it the same way to apply for the graduate?
Yes, it is. So a
Okay.
PhD is still classified as a graduate degree. It's just a more advanced graduate degree.
Thank you.
Of course.
One more question.
Yes,
Where can I
please.
access, you had showed us like the scholarships that
Yes.
are possibly available.
Yep.
Where can I access
Let
that?
me share my screen again so I can show you. If you go to the School of Education homepage, so it's just albany.edu/education. There's a little link. If you go to, hold on. Why did I think it was on the side? I'm so sorry. Hold on. I know it's on the sidebar. It's on the sidebar of our programs page. So it's albany.edu/education/programs. And it's right here, School of Education Scholarships, but I will include the link to the School of Education Scholarships in the chat, just so that you can access it. And make sure you
Thank
click that
you.
before you leave. Oh, I only sent that to one person. Hold on, let me send it to everyone. click on it before you leave so that when you leave, you don't lose the link entirely. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. If there aren't any other questions, I'm just going to drop the Pi Center email in the chat. This is a great place to ask your questions. We're always happy to help. And yeah, just thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today to learn more about our programs, about applying, and hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully we'll see some of your names as applicants in the near future. And yeah, again, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi.
I do have a question. I'm so
Oh, okay,
sorry.
great. No, that's fine.
I just wanted to ask because I am planning on applying for this ID program.
Okay,
And
in school psych.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a master's degree, but it is not anything that relates to psychology. It's
Okay.
actually in Homeland Security, but I wanted to just know if it puts me at a disadvantage or even advantage if I have a master's degree.
I would say, you know, if you have a strong academic record at the master's level, that certainly bodes well to show that you can handle advanced coursework.
Yeah.
But I don't think it provides a benefit. I don't think any of those courses would necessarily transfer to the program.
Right.
But outside of just showing a strong academic record, I think I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Students come from all different backgrounds as long as you have the required psychology coursework for that program. So it does require, I think at minimum 12 credits of psychology coursework.
Right.
Okay.
I have seen it.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of
Have
course.
a good day.
Thank you. All right. And thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.